Welcome. I am beyond excited to welcome everybody here to what will be the first of many 80-20 conversations. I'm Alana Rea. I am over the moon to have political activist, feminist organizer, writer, fellow Smith alum, Gloria Steinem in the room, along with a host of other inspirational women, and we're going to meet each other in just a minute. But I wanted to start by saying that today is the first we're launching the 80-20 Project. This is designed to create spaces for women, old and young, who share passions, but might be at really different stages in their lives. Maybe you're in your teens, maybe in your 20s, maybe you're in your 80s. But Gloria has been hosting these intergenerational dialogues for decades. She has been setting this table all her life. And today we get to pull up couches to the table.
Yay.
And join. So I just wanted to say thank you in advance for what I know is going to be a thrilling and thought-provoking conversation. And why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? Gloria, would you introduce yourself to the group?
My name is Gloria Steinem. It's always been my name. Right. I've wanted to be a writer ever since I was about 9, I think, and started to read Louisa May Alcott, and it just seemed to me to be the thing I wanted to do. And yet now I find myself doing everything but. I'm answering my email. So I'm grateful for this infusion of writing energy here. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Munira Livingston. I go by Moon, and I'm a social media artist who's just started my own company, Never Vanilla. It's my digital media playground, and I'm so grateful to be here with all of you.
I'm Alishba. I'm a rising sophomore at Wellesley, and I'm also a tech activist, so I do a lot of work in tech and also in social justice and kind of bridging the gap between the two. So it's lovely to speak with you guys. Lovely to meet you.
Sachi?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sachi. I'm a rising junior now, I guess, in high school. And I've been on the Etre board for a long time. I started the hashtag Be Brave campaign, which just really wants to support girls who are facing stereotypes because I know how hard it is. And I like soccer, I like cars. I'm just like bringing the teenager energy in here. Yeah.
Love that. Hi, I'm Faith Brown. I'm a counseling psychologist and performance strategist, and I'm just really interested in how we show up in spaces and places and how we light the place up. So it's really nice to be here.
I love that. And I'm Alana. I was a lawyer, and I founded Etre, which means to be in French. And I take girls into companies that they ask to see to meet female leaders face-to-face. And face-to-face is actually why we're here. And I'm going to ask Moon to talk a little bit about why we picked a talking circle as the first 80-20 conversation. Why are we face-to-face?
So the first 80-20 conversation is a talking circle because during our first Zoom call, you actually inspired that. And I was like, well, what is a talking circle? I don't know if I've really been a part of one of those. But in doing some research, I was like, this is perfect for an intergenerational conversation. Because instead of looking up to the other person or speaking down to someone, we're right next to each other. And it really creates a space for respectful conversation, a respectful relationship of values, ideas. And I'm curious, Gloria, why talking circles? Why do you like talking circles?
Well, as you were saying that, I think I was thinking we ought to credit Wilma Mankiller, who was the chief of the Cherokee Nation, because that was my first experience of talking circles. And it was a very conscious way of communicating and creating consensus or a basis for action or emergency, whatever it was. And it included a talking stick that while you were holding it, you got to speak, and then you passed it to the next person and the next person, so that it had an egalitarian kind of flavor. And just anything that's in a circle is better than anything that's in a hierarchy, I think. Agreed. So better circles than square board meeting tables and so, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I find that so cool because I remember growing up in a time when families, right? We were gathered, either nuclear families or extended families. We would all gather and we'd be in a circle. There were times when, there were adults speaking and kids had to leave the room. And there were times when kids were allowed. And when we were allowed, it was because we were given instruction or we were learning. And it was all about the circle and all about feeling like family. And it was within the confines of that circle that we got to make mistakes. We were celebrated, and that's, looking back on it, that's probably where I gained confidence, because I was among people who loved me, who celebrated me, but also course corrected when I needed to be. So this circle is a beautiful thing. So, Alishba, let me ask you, you've done so much at such a young age. When did you first feel confident? Did you have that extended family around you to celebrate you? And in doing so, how do you feel confident today? And is there anything that threatens that?
Yeah, so I think a big part of confidence for me was it was really hard for me, honestly. I grew up very shy, quiet. I've always been like that. Still kind of am sometimes, but it's something that I worked on over the years. And I think the main thing that helped me with that was making friends and family members and meeting people that helped to bring that out of me, and also to find things that I enjoy doing and finding confidence in the work that I do, or even in culture. So I grew up Bengali and Muslim, and two of those things I never really embraced as a child, but growing up I was kind of okay, this is cool, I'm gonna work with this, I'm gonna see where this goes. And then over time I was kind of oh my god, it's so cool to have this unique cultural background, and also to being in tech. I'm jumping around so much, but also being in tech, I feel that was also something where I was I love tech. I think it's so cool to see what it can do and the power that it has. And that's also something that brought me a lot of confidence. Knowing that you have power to make an impact was something that really helped me out.
So were you encouraged to do so? Within a unit, were you encouraged to pursue that?
Oh yeah. When I came to tech, I met a lot of people. I did this program. Sashi also is did this program. But Code with Classy, we met a lot of people who also were in tech, young girls especially. It helps to have women and girls who are in the same space, especially in tech, because tech is so marginalized. So it really helped to have people who are also reaching for the same thing, and to be inspired by those people. And also with culture, it was really nice to have community. And especially when I came to college, I was it was so shocking to see so many people who were really embracing themselves and their identity, and that was really important for me moving forward.
Yeah. Especially when you have people who are around you, right, who are doing the same thing. You're kind of encouraged to do so. And you and Moon kind of share in kind of that tech space a lot. And so, Moon, have you discovered anything that can kind of threaten your confidence in that area a bit?
For sure. I've worked at a couple of agencies and in corporate spaces, and there's a way you sometimes have to be, similar to what we were talking about earlier, going to Islamic private school and being told this is how your relationship with God needs to be. Similar to in tech or in social media, this is how you go about moving through this space as a woman, or as a Black woman, or as a Bengali woman. And I've had some people give me constructive feedback in a way that put me down, not empowered me. And when you don't always see people that look like you, it can shut you down, and you can be why am I here? How do I work through this? And I would say trusting that the spaces and places and opportunities I put myself in, I was meant to be there. Even if someone told me otherwise.
Yeah.
But it took some time to know that.
Sure.
Yeah, but you know it now. I love that.
Sure.
It took feeling do I really deserve to be here? How did I manifest this through?
From the other point of view, if a group doesn't look something like the country, it's wrong. Yeah. Right. Sure. It's not you that's wrong. It's it. Right.
Mm-hmm. That can be a tough place to springboard from. But obviously you did it, right? And when you feel it, you know it's there, right? You know it's there. That spark is just there. So Sachi, you've done a lot too, right? And so she's just saying that there are times when you're in these strange spaces and, you know, feeling a bit put down, right? But you've done like this awesome campaign around being brave. Like, can you talk to us a little bit about like when you feel threatened, like at times that girls feel pressure to be perfect, right? Which I'm sure if you have to do it a certain way, right, and you don't quite do it that way, there's that pressure to feel perfect or to do it right. Talk to us a little bit about how being brave kind of fits into that and what that campaign is all about.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, like the biggest part of just being brave, having that feeling inside of you, is having the right community around you. And I feel like that's what Alishba was saying, that the Code with Clossy community is something that like is just sensational. It's something that you feel like you want to be part of it, you want to stand out. And I feel like that's like the main thing. I mean, growing up, I've had immigrant parents, so community, sense of family was huge for us, and they always supported being different because they always felt different in every situation. So they're like, do you know what, embrace that difference and be brave and stand up. And I think I think that was like the heart of the campaign, because my mom has always told me embrace your differences. And I think like honestly the bravest I felt is like going into the companies. I see like other women and I see them being brave, like standing up, like their occupations, and I'm just like, wow, like I want to have that same level of confidence when I'm older. And I mean, I created a video for the Be Brave campaign, and when I was like running the cameras, like the door, I was making sure it was shut, like I was telling everyone where to be, I felt confident with who I was, and I felt confident that this campaign is really good at like influence girls and really help them wherever they are. And I feel like when you're brave, you help others be brave. There's just this energy that's just everybody feels, and if you're brave, everyone around you feels
What
a
you
little better.
created is going to inspire girls. They're going to watch it now. They're watching it already. And the girl who's scared to raise her hand is going to watch what you did, and she's going to raise her hand instead of lowering her standards. And you're doing it now. And it makes me so happy.
Yeah. To note that because you took that step, others will too, right? So you mentioned that the importance of community, having community around us, right? Helping us to step into that space. So I feel that way, that when because that lends itself to mentorship and being prepared and all of that good stuff. So Gloria, I'm gonna ask you, like, when girls are told to be good all the time, like be a good girl, how do we ever become great women? How does that happen?
That's a great way to put it, because good versus great. Right. I think one way that's very helpful is to think unique versus the whole population. There's no one on earth like you. Nobody can do exactly the same thing. And I like that because it takes it away from confrontation, you know, and values each individual person.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I see that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think when you're talking about finding community like that, right? Like when you think of yourself as unique, but still you two met in a coding club, which I still love, that, you know, just that kind of serendipity. But you brought these unique skills and these unique goals to it, and then found a whole bunch of other people who wanted to learn what you wanted to learn. And I think that's really interesting. And when we talk about community these days, you know, it can be different. You can have community in person when you guys are at your clubs or hackathons, and then there's community online, which certainly coming out of the pandemic changed things. But I do want to ask, I'll ask you first, where do you find community right now?
I find community, I purposefully seek community. So I do not ever want to be the smartest kid in the room, ever again. So I seek out areas of my life where I want to grow. And oftentimes those introductions are made through people that I know. As a matter of fact, I got to know you through our dear friend Nell Merlino, right?
We sat next to each other.
Absolutely. And so voila, I'm here, right, with people who are much smarter than me. So, so I appreciate building community from the perspective of wanting engagement, genuine engagement, and from a space of authentic curiosity.
That's so important. So Gloria, when you started Ms. Magazine, there had to have been this spark of curiosity. No one knew it was going to build the kind of community that it built. It was supposed to live on the shelves for X number of weeks, and it just blew up. Did you have a sense early on that it was going to create the community and connect women like it did?
Yes, I think I knew that because women who were journalists and reporters and so on had their own kind of community to help each other anyway, because it was not so easy to get published, to get freelance assignments and so on. The idea of the magazine really came out of doing one issue and about the women's movement and so on. And because it sold out nationally, we said, oh, well, wait a minute, we can we can have our own. We can have our own magazine, which was quite difficult, incidentally, because we didn't have the proper investment or anything. But it worked mainly because of women like you who responded. We got tons of mail like no other magazine I've ever seen. Bags of mail would come in, and with all kinds of personal notes. I feel when I get the magazine as if somebody's talking to me. I never knew anybody cared about domestic, whatever it is, it was the response that made it.
And women were so inclined to lean into it and suggest it to their friends and tap someone on the shoulder and say, oh, you need to see this. When you think about building community on social, and I love how you've talked in the past about the opportunity and the access that it gives people to find community, do you feel the same way on social?
I do. I feel like with social media, we have access now to connect with people across the globe that sometimes you never even knew existed or could connect to. But you wanna balance, because what we're doing here, this kind of community building, how to translate that digitally is always that delicious thing I'm trying to figure out. Because what happens here is so organic, so authentic. And I think even earlier, we want to see people be authentic. We don't want the scripted moments. Being in real life, you get that spark of spontaneity, the question or the statement that you didn't expect. I think social media gives a lot of opportunity to connect with people outside of your immediate world.
It does, but it's great that you make the distinction because as wonderful as social media is, you can't feel empathy unless, if you see somebody having an accident and you want to help them even though you don't know them, okay, all right, that's empathy. And that actually is the result of oxytocin that, we experience when we're concerned about another human being. And I don't think that oxytocin results from paper or screen.
Well, what about if you have a conversation like this that is creating the electricity that gives us that oxytocin?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's not to deny the importance of screen and paper and words and everything, but just to understand the additional importance of being together as we are right now.
100%. And we want to keep this. There's something valuable in this that we don't want to.
It's oxytocin.
Yeah. But you guys have been raised on screens. I mean, you've really come of age in this environment. Do you still feel that there are times where in person is better? Or are your favorite activities things you do with your phone in your hand or not with your phone in your hand? What do you think?
Honestly, I feel like, kind of like going off of what you guys both said, I feel like social media and in person are like totally different worlds. But like, there's a point where you're like on social media and like it leads you to in person. Yes. Like for me, I feel like social media and like the digital world is like a little jump for me to have more fun in person. Cause like the internet, you meet all these cool people and like you meet people who are like not in your space, you get to explore like this whole new world, and you get to do so much on social media. But like after that, then what? You go in person, and then you carry out those conversations. If you like meet someone on LinkedIn or something, you're gonna go meet them in person eventually, you know? Like I feel like it leads to like those natural connections that you make in person by meeting people online. But that's not to say that like being online is like the end all be all. Because like if you have these friends online, or if you're doing things online, it's not gonna change your life in the way that meeting someone in person, giving someone a physical hug is gonna do for you.
Yes. And I like that springboard concept a lot. I love the idea that social media can be a springboard to the real thing, the face-to-face. You know, we saw during the pandemic, all of a sudden, girls in all these different countries were joining Zooms. We couldn't go to companies, but we were Zooming, and girls were waking up at all kinds of hours to do that. You know that they would rather be in person, and the woman who's mentoring them would rather be in person. But it was a little springboard to get us there. I love that concept. I think that's great. Do you feel that way as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think during the pandemic, I was looking for different like opportunities, things to like explore my passion, because I had a bit of extra time. And I think social media was a really great way to connect everybody. And you could write like an email to someone you thought like would never respond to you, and they would respond to you because we were all like online and everything. And I think that was so crucial about COVID. But I do agree that like there is this difference that comes when you're talking to somebody in person. And even though I'm like a social media like generation, I think, but like still it's just a different type of feeling when you're meeting somebody.
You can't have sex online. Just want to say.
And there's the wisdom right there. There's the wisdom. It is okay to blush. That's it. And everyone's going to turn their phones off right then. We're done now. That's it. Yeah. But it is true. There are those moments, the intimacy, the empathy, the heart-to-heart moments, right, where all the ideas start and all the warmth runs around the room like it's doing now. And Zoom isn't going to do it. They're never going to do it.
No. Which is why I think it's important to make the distinction, right, of growing up knowing what pure engagement is.
Yes.
To know that social media is a tool. It's a resource, and however we leverage it, that is going to be the end. So using it as a springboard, knowing that personal engagement is perhaps, you know, a bit more loving, a bit more encompassing and giving, and that you will get a lot more out of that. But if you're using it for utility purposes, right, practical purposes, then it's good. We can reach people we've never seen on other sides of the world. I had a little radio show once, and just a little one, digital radio, and I got comments from Russia, from like Vietnam, and I went, oh, who's listening to this, right? Had no idea. So knowing that it is a tool is one thing, and that it will allow a type of engagement, but also understanding that when we come together is so much richer, right? That when we have the opportunity to do so, that is richer.
And I would only add to that there's a lot of the world that doesn't have electricity,
Right.
that can't afford computers. You know, we need to be aware of that. I mean, until we have some big thing in the sky that enables everybody on Earth to have electricity, and so we need to be aware. I remember being at Google, and they had a map of the world with lines to every place Google reached, you know, and there were big dark areas.
Yeah. Right, and now you're not democratizing the access to the information, the access to the role models, you know, to the passions, the things that spark us and light us up, right? That you're missing that.
Right, but I think what it also does, right, with all of the dark circles, it also tells all of us who are informed where to direct our energy. Like go
And the advancements,
go be
yes.
our sister's keeper,
I
go
hope-
be our
I hope
brother's
so.
keeper,
I hope
right?
so.
100%.
That in a way that we can do that. If that's what we need to do, you go, well, how can we do that? How can we create energy there as well? Can we send a spark there? Can we send that spark there?
So I want to ask all of you, and I want to start with you, Lishba. Where do you feel your spark lies? How do you spark up a room, a conversation? What do you feel like that is?
So I did mention this like before also, but there's like, you have yourself and then you have like people around you, right? So it's like for me, like I love I love tech, I love activism, stuff like that. I enjoy doing on my own. And then there's also with other people, I love talking to people. I feel like nothing compares to just like meeting people and getting coffee, stuff like that. And I feel like that gives me a lot of value and spark. That like lights me up when I get to meet someone. And a lot of my friends, like their siblings are getting married and stuff now, which is like crazy. But but also like it's so fun to like
Buckle up.
yeah, it's like it's crazy to like like that. I enjoy. I love going to like events and like seeing people getting ready. Love dressing up, doing stuff like that. I feel like that gives me value, and well, it doesn't give me value. It gives me spark. Like I enjoy doing stuff like that, and I don't know. That's where I get my happiness from as well.
And what about you, Sachi?
I think like when talking to other people, I think like a laugh that like sparks off a conversation, like a little smile, a laugh, a touch on the shoulder, something just connecting with other people that really sparks up a room and sparks up a conversation, because once you hear that laugh or that smile, you get comfortable with the person, and I feel like that's kind of where it all starts. So.
And just listening. I mean, listening is an art in itself.
I'm sparked when I get to engage. When I get to engage in an authentic way, there's something inside of me that just kind of, comes out. So engaging in person, when I get to engage in person, I'm really sparked.
I like the light bulb moments. I like being around curious people. I'm an insatiably curious person, so I like being with other curious people, and I like it when you ask a question and then you get the answer that knocks you off your feet, and that the light bulb moment for you. And then I like seeing it happen for other people, where you see someone recognize, oh, I didn't know that before. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was a job, or I didn't know that I could get a response from someone on email during COVID. Those little light bulb moments, those will feed me all day. I love that.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah.
I get a spark listening to stories.
Right, narrative is crucial, right?
It is. Right. It is so crucial, and it excites me to just hear different perspectives and ways of thinking. And even earlier when you were speaking about uniqueness and appreciating that, it's like, oh, that was cool, Or now earlier saying, hey, if you're a little nervous, really you're excited. I was like, oh, that's fire. So that's what really just.
Right, and what you say about stories is so important, because the truism is, tell me a fact and I'll forget. Tell me a story and I'll always remember.
It just sticks with you. Just sticks with you.
Do you think about that when you're writing all the time, that this is something that because you're telling it in a narrative, it's going to get repeated and repeated and retold?
Yeah, I think that's. We want our facts to be right, of course, or we try, but it's the narrative that will keep people going, and it's starting out with something that maybe provokes curiosity, or it is, life is a story.
Yeah. I think I want to wear that on a t-shirt.
So when did you first feel confident?
I think I probably was confident as a child. I was raised by the most wildly talented mother who you met earlier, and she instilled all kinds of confidence. I will say the first time I recognized that I gained confidence I had been lacking was going to Smith. Going to a women's college changed everything for me. I'd be fundamentally different. And I went to law school after that. I practiced law a long time, but going to Smith changed everything for me. I think I didn't know I was missing it, but I found buckets of confidence there. What about you?
Yeah, I think there are two pivotal times that stand out for me. One of them was because I grew up with a very bad speech impediment. And my fabulous mom would make me stop and start over. So when I had to speak publicly for the first time, I think, and nailed it.
Yeah.
By the applause or by comments that were made afterwards, I think I felt comfortable in my own skin at that point. And I also played junior high basketball. And so having made the team and I was starting, I was in the starting lineup, I think that was probably the first time I really thought, that I could really do something and do something important or something that mattered.
That's so important because sports for girls and young women are still it's very unequal.
I think I also agree. Sports, while playing soccer, getting onto varsity and just keep playing, starting, that was huge for me. I think just in like other moments, like academically and other passions that I have, I'm still trying to like figure out the confidence and just having those little moments where you can cherish and find confidence is important. But sports was a big help for me. Yeah.
And for me, I think reading Louisa May Alcott, because I don't know what I'd been reading, the Hardy Boys or something, I don't know. But I just related to her, and I used to sit and think, oh, if maybe she would come alive, and what would I show her first? And so, I mean, you know, it meant so much to me. And she is a way more amazing person than we think just from reading Little Women.
I would say my first inkling of confidence actually came when I was about 6. And my mother had to leave me and my twin sister with a neighbor for about a week. And it felt like a month. And she went to take herself to the doctor to go get taken care of. And my twin sister and I, we didn't know where she went. We were left with a neighbor, we felt safe, but we had the confidence that we were gonna take care of one another and that we were gonna be okay.
That's so powerful.
It is.
What about you?
Well, I agree with Alana, like that. I totally like forgot about this, but going to a women's college, going to Wellesley, like literally like changed my life. Is the first week I was there, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like being on a campus full of like primarily women or like women identifying people, it's just been so cool to like find, especially like religiously, it helped me a lot. Like I talked to Moon about this earlier, but just being around, because a lot of Islamic spaces are unfortunately mainly men. And so that kind of like always pushed me away from it until I got to Wellesley. And that's when I met like all these Muslim folks who were like women, and it felt so powerful to know that like there were people like me that existed, and also Muslims who weren't just Bengali or South Asian was really cool to see, because I grew up in a very South Asian area, and seeing like Black Muslims, Middle Eastern Muslims, like it was just so interesting and fun, and all the events that we have and stuff, it just feels like such a nice, like I feel so confident in the fact that like now I can embrace my religion and not feel like an outsider just because I'm Muslim or this or that.
And after all, Muhammad married a much older, smarter woman. So how great is that?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we don't look at every event as an opportunity. I mean, for instance, everybody in the world was subject to the pandemic, from China to here to Europe to, okay, I was hoping, but I didn't know how to make happen except on email, right? That would help us understand that national boundaries are meaningless. Yes. And that we share this spaceship Earth. Yes. You know, maybe we can still do it. I feel that, at least to my knowledge, that is an opportunity that wasn't really used.
And everyone was affected by it, as you say, across all lines, across socioeconomic and geographic and ethnic. Every boundary fell away. One virus looking for a cure. Yeah.
Which is the point, right? That we're all human, right? We're just all human. And so for those things that we're afraid to confront, starting with a question, and not necessarily a confrontational one, but can we start at our humanness?
Right.
I mean, I'm going to go here for a second, for what it's worth, but I show up in the world as a Black woman. Phenotypically, I'm a Black woman. Genotypically, I'm not. So if we had our DNA up above my head, I will show up in a space, and the first thing someone would say is, she's a Black woman, right? And I identify as a Black woman. But 45% of me is is Irish and British. 35 is Scandinavian. 15% is West African. But I show up
That's a
in this
great
form.
combination, I have to
Yeah.
say.
So, but the human condition in terms of what we all experienced. So for those who are afraid of diversity underneath, I probably could relate more to someone who's showing up looking differently than I, genetically, right? So if we could all meet one another on a human level first,
Well, we're all the same internally.
we're all the same.
I mean, it's melanin and
That's it.
gender and so on is kind of an accident and not that important in the end.
Not that important in the end. So if we could just start there, then perhaps solving world problems won't be such a
make
such
life
an
so
issue,
easy.
right? Right.
No, and the conversations like this are going to continue. I mean,
Right.
as we get ready to talk about next steps for 80/20 and things like that. But I kind of do want to take a moment for a second and say, what are we all feeling right now, right? If this is this moment in time and we're sitting right here, if you could sum up in a word, a single word, how you feel right now.
I
That's
feel
hard.
excited.
Excited?
I feel excited. Yeah.
I feel like my spark is there right now. Like I'm so happy to be there. I'm sparked. I'm sparked.
Well, when you said that, I feel impatient with myself because I spend way too much time answering email and way too little time doing my own writing.
I feel electric. I feel so electric. Yeah. I'm like,
You're right.
I agree. I also feel very energized, excited, ecstatic.
I think we can do something with this, right? This is now when we push this forward and have these conversations everywhere, and you're going to tell us how to do it. But I just think, I honestly just want to say thank you to everybody for being here and making this happen. And I think maybe my favorite thing about the concept of a talking circle, right, is that it doesn't have any end, like you were saying. There's no beginning, it's no end. It just revolves and picks up wisdom with every single revolution of it. And truly, I think we can all agree that that's where revolutions start. You know, this is actually how we cause revolutions.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is.
we're communal animals. I mean, there's a reason why solitary confinement is the worst punishment in the world everywhere, right? We need each other.
We need each other in a big way.
There's actually a Girl Scout song that all the girls learn, and it's all about circles and being together and never ending. So it's very crucial and important.
And starting at that young, right? For intergenerational, exactly.
yeah, and I hope that, you know, more young women and just people in general can take this format, can take this circle, this hangout with their, you know, older, younger sisters and just continue to bring up conversations and ideas or topics that inspire you, continue to spark you and others.
Yeah, I think we all have a way of doing it. I mean, it happens that I have my own living room because I'm no longer a student, and so, okay. So my living room is a place for talking circles. And I figure out, well, I can hold, 20 tops, 15 maybe.
My dorm fits 5-ish. It's always a nice chat.
For whatever it is, yeah, that you can make it happen in your own space or a space you have access to.
I love the qualifier hangout.
Yeah,
I
because
like that.
Sometimes I'm doing this talking circle with Nell on a walk. And
A walking circle, that's good, okay.
a walking circle, a walking circle,
Right.
a living room circle, or a digital circle. However you want to do this, but you can take this anywhere with you, and that's what we want 80/20 to do and to inspire. We want to pass the torch, to pass the talking stick, I'd say, to other women, other young women, older women, of all ages, of all interests, to take the circle anywhere you want it to be, with whoever you want it to be, and to make it fun.
It certainly brings down the walls, right?
That fourth wall is not here.
But that's hopefully what we do. We have these talking circles, we send them out into the world, this 80/20 project, to college campuses and schools and our friend groups and our book clubs and any other way we can convene, and we think about, we all know someone and we all have our own thoughts and aptitudes, and this is how problems get solved. And maybe these conversations end in solutions, not just for the small things, the big questions.
Big questions.
You know, I can honestly say, and we are all, as you say, sharing this spaceship Earth, and I think I speak for all of us when I say we're so grateful to be in your orbit,
Yes.
and
Yes,
to be
thank you.
to be here and to have
I'll
you
challenge you
with
on
us.
gratitude anytime.
Truly, this is amazing.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.